Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I am actually here with Kevin Eastman, one of the co-creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're in a lobby, styling and profiling on this nice couch
I know, it's
before
beautiful
the
down
Grand
there.
Rapids Comic Con.
Yeah.
Kevin, you obviously arrived last night, so I can't ask you, well, how's it been at the con so far? But how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, actually. Yeah, we flew in we live in San Diego, so we flew in last night. I think we finally got to sleep about 1:30. So, but I got just enough coffee this morning, so I'm fully energized and ready for the show. I can't wait.
All right. Well, I do have to ask, why is Kamandi, the Last Boy on Earth, one of your favorite comics? How has it resonated with you?
Well, I grew up in a very small town in Maine, and when I saw Jack Kirby, I love Jack Kirby's artwork and creations anyway, but Kamandi really resonated with me because growing up in this tiny little town, which downtown was a store that was also a gas station. That was it. We had a stop sign, not a stoplight. I felt like the last boy on earth sometimes, but no, I just really loved the adventure of the character. Kirby's dynamic drawing style and everything was very inspirational, and that was sort of a real turning point. I always loved drawing, but that was the comic that I basically proudly announced to my parents that I want to be a cartoonist, a storyteller when I grow up. And of course, they had that horrified look on their face, like, "Oh my goodness, we're gonna have one of those kids that never moves out of the basement." But I love Kamandi, and that's my dream project to do someday.
Well, and it's also awesome that Kirby, basically created the new gods,
Yes, that whole. I mean, I love many different periods of Jack Kirby, but for me, I was at that right age when he was at DC Comics. From New Gods, Forever People, Mr. Miracle, Sandman, Dingbats of Danger Street, Demon, Kamandi. That was just this huge wealth of just creativity, and that was really, again, besides him being a huge inspiration to me. I realized that, whatever kind of story I could dream about, whatever kind of story I wanted to tell, if I could think it and I could draw it, then I could do it. And that was really it. That was my mission from that point on in my life was to be Jack Kirby. Try anyway.
I hear you on that. I'm glad you actually brought up inspiration because that segues into my next question. Bruce Lee was, from what I understand, one of the inspirations for the initial Turtle sketch. Was there any other martial artists or movies that influenced the comic?
Well, that was, growing up in, by then I'd moved to Westbrook, Maine, and when we finally got cable, I know it sounds so funny, when we finally got cable, there was a TV station out of Boston that used to show this martial arts theater every Saturday. So a lot of times I didn't necessarily know the actors portraying a lot of the characters in it, but Bruce Lee was my favorite. But I just love martial arts movies, ninja, ninjutsu, samurai, Akira Kurosawa's Ran and Kagamushka, and so many other things were very influential. But that also came in from the comic side where, Frank Miller's Ronin was a huge influence, in what he, grasped from the Lone Wolf and Cub series, so the original manga series.
Yeah, I don't know the name of that author, but I am familiar with that.
I know. I'm going to spare everybody, not mispronounce it. But then, what Miller did in Daredevil with Ninja and bringing that whole mystic sort of Asian influence was hugely inspirational as well as a martial arts, aficionado or appreciator of martial arts.
Excellent. Have you checked out the Daredevil series on Netflix?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's fantastic in every way. It's to me, it's what I love about what Marvel's doing with its films in general and TV series. Jessica Jones and
Luke Cage,
Luke Cage, which is fantastic. But with Daredevil, I felt like they really captured everything that I thought Daredevil should be. It's the essence of the comic book, the attitude of the comic book, the intensity of the comic book. I think Miller would have probably pushed it even farther in the comic book had not, it been Comics Code approved sort of content even at that time, which I think he pushed anyway. But no, I think the series is fantastic.
All right, and the one thing I do like about the Marvel series, especially on TV, is they're just hiring normal-looking people, and it actually works well with the comics, especially from back then.
Yeah, Vincent D. How can I pronounce D. Orfano?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Thank you. He's the perfect Kingpin.
Oh
well,
yes,
so.
I mean, I was just floored by his performance. I would love to meet that guy one day and just at least talk to him because I remember him as Private Pyle in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Private Pyle in Full Metal Jacket. He was great in what was that Stephen King movie? He was in Men in Black.
Yes, he was.
That crazy alien in Men in Black, which was fantastic. So,
sorry, I have to do one of those favorite questions, but favorite comics by Richard Corbin.
Mm-hmm. Man, there's too many. Den, of course, very popular. I loved a lot of, to me, the most quintessential or the coolest Corbin stories was when he did his short stories, not only the underground self-published stuff that he did, the whole series that he did for Warren Publishing, like The Child, was fantastic, and so many things. But my probably all-time favorite Corbin graphic novel, as a single work, I'd single out Bloodstar. Bloodstar was just a fantastic, Robert E. Howard adaptation, and yeah, he's. I would say if I had to name, one other major influence after Kirby, well, Kirby, Miller, Corbin, probably those are my top 3 influences.
I mean, I did enjoy Corbin's, back at the time, his take on Luke Cage when he did like a Marvel, for Marvel Max imprint.
Love that. I thought it was fantastic.
It was.
Yeah.
Great segues from me, for crying out loud. Actually, I do have a fan question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of mine named Travis of the independent comic book publisher SourcePoint Press would like to know your thoughts on the independent comic book scene now.
What's interesting, it's changed so much, but I think it's, the independent comic scene is alive and well and really flourishing. I think mainly in part due to, the opportunities that the internet and sites like, DeviantArt or comicart.org and so many fan sites where people can share content, share ideas. You can have writers meet artists. You can have, colorists meet inkers, and it's a real community thing. But it's a great way to reach a global audience easily. And it's much like when we started, as a independent publisher, trusting the goodwill and the word of mouth from comic stores. That was our main outlet. With the internet, it's very similar. Is that a good story, an interesting idea will get global followers just by word of mouth. Facebook and social media and all that stuff. So I'm very excited about what's going on out there.
Do you have any titles or series that you follow?
I don't. I look at a lot of everything, but right now it's sort of I have to, limit my time because things like video games get very distracting. Suddenly, I can spend 2 hours, 3 hours playing a video game when I should be drawing or writing. So I really limit what I read and what I look up online and what I can do just because it's distracting and I need to be creative.
Whoa. This is even on the list. You mentioned you play video games. So are there any particular games that you enjoy?
Well, it's my son. Our son, Courtney and I have a son named Shane. He's 10, and he's huge into sports games. He's I think he has the artistic gene that I have. He draws when he wants to. He does very well at it, but he's a total sports nut. So it's soccer games, it's football games, it's that kind of stuff that I get to play with him, and usually get beat by him. So I try to play him, but he's in the middle of soccer season. So every game he plays is video games. It's all soccer stuff.
All right. Are you still a editor for Heavy Metal?
I still am a part owner of Heavy Metal. I'm still the publisher of Heavy Metal. But we have a really interesting thing going on with the company right now. Is that Grant Morrison's?
I saw that.
Yeah, that was I was the main editor 20 years, and what a great stewardship. What a great magazine. It was one of the easiest jobs that didn't feel like a job. Working with so many fantastic artists all over the world, and we wanted to try some different things within the company, give somebody else to sort of put their perspective, their spin on what they think heavy metal should be. And we're lucky enough to work with the awesome Grant Morrison, who's such a fantastic writer. And
his stories, The Invisibles, some of his stories. His run on the JLA, I really enjoyed.
Yes.
And then, and I'm certainly not bad-mouthing him, but some of his stories, like The Invisibles, they're just so far out there in concepts, and I'm like, wow, how do you create this? Where does this come from?
I think you just got a insanely vivid and interesting and unique imagination, and that's that's what's so interesting about comics in general is that you really, I think my influences are so cross media from movies, TV, comics, books, all that kind of stuff, and each person has their own individual tastes and likes, and they bring that to their creativity. So I think whatever Grant has been inspired by in his life really comes out in his work, and he's such an original, creative, and specific writer that is interesting to follow, interesting to see what he's going to do next, which is the coolest thing.
And I did enjoy his All-Star Superman with Frank Quitely.
Frank Quitely is just, he's one of those guys that, you see the talent coming out of that guy when he draws, and you just go, I can't imagine how you do that. He's great.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, you once mentioned that John Fusco wrote one of the best turtle stories you have ever read.
Yes.
Will that story ever see its way into comics or in animation form?
I'd love it. I think it was so specifically written as a reboot for the new movie. You've seen the new Paramount movies that have come out, Platinum Dunes, Michael Bay. Recently, but John was
yes, Mr. Pizza Delivery Guy.
my 5 seconds of fame. No, it was really fun to do the cameo, and I was really excited about the second movie, the movie that came out this year, mainly because I get to finally bring some of the fan favorite characters, Bebop and Rocksteady, of course, to the big screen for the first time. Casey Jones, who's always been one of the core members of the Turtles, was brought to life by Stephen Amell, and he was fantastic. And but it was Krang, of course, but it was fun. So I'd love to see that John Fusco script realized. I have it treasured and hidden away in my house, and maybe one day.
All right. Also, I don't know if it was last year or was it this year that you took part of the TMT 100 project.
Yes, actually, it was. I've been a longtime supporter of Hero Initiative, Jim McLaughlin and his guys that really do a wonderful job in what I call taking care of the heroes and the giants I stand on the shoulders of. A lot of people that are in comics today are in the business oftentimes because of guys like Jack Kirby that inspired them. And a lot of these guys worked in the industry at a time when there was work for hire. Most often did not receive any profits or royalties and things from their creations. They were owned by the company they worked for. And so Hero Initiative is a charitable organization that helps those guys out when they need medical bills paid or rent paid and that kind of stuff. So the Turtles, they've done several 100 projects, which artists donate their sketch covers. It's all auctioned off online. All the money goes into the charity and helps out creators. And the Turtles 100 was fantastic. We not only got to work with so many fantastic artists, but we did I curate the San Diego Comic Art Gallery, and we did a preview of all 100 covers at the gallery before the auction went up. So it was really fun.
Did you have any input on the artists that were contributing to that?
No, it's what's so great is that these guys, it's of their own accord, of their own individual, appreciation and wanting to give back. So the guys that come in and do those drawings, it's because they want to, and that's. So I had no say. It was just I'm grateful for all of them that participated. It's really important. It's
would there been any that you would have loved to have?
Two.
I'll throw you out two.
Corbin and Miller. No, but no, it's a great charity, and I'm grateful to all the artists that participate. And that was every time because those guys come out. Again, the Turtles was one 100 project they're working on a Wonder Woman right now. I participated in the Walking Dead one, Fantastic Four one, X-Men one. So yeah, a lot of and kudos to the comic companies like IDW, Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse that help fund and sponsor and donate all the profits from the sales of that go to the Hero Initiative. So,
and I think that actually is a really good cause. I mean, it's unfortunate that, obviously as a comic book artist or a writer, you don't have like health insurance or things like that unless you purchase it. Just like the wrestling industry, like when people get injured, they pretty much have to keep wrestling.
Yeah, it is. Even with our company, my wife Courtney and I, we have hi Courtney. We're self-employed essentially. Although I'm under contract with IDW as an exclusive creator, but we're self-employed individuals that we take care of all of our own bills, medical insurance, and all that other stuff. And thankfully and gratefully, we have a lot of work and we can cover those costs right now. But yeah, there's a lot of artists that don't have just some basic coverages on that kind of stuff because freelancing's hard.
Well, you mentioned IDW, and obviously you're working on the Turtle comics on that. Are you taking a different approach this time around?
Well, with IDW, which is hands down one of my favorite companies, I've known Ted Adams and Robbie Robbins, who founded IDW. I've known them for 20 years plus. What I love about IDW is they're really focused on, they're all about the creator, the creativity, the art form, and doing, great stories with great artists, and they oftentimes work with up-and-coming artists, which is even more fantastic. With the new Turtle series, which I'm now going on to my 5th year of working with, the guy that's really responsible for the success of the new Turtle series is a guy named Tom Waltz. He's the head writer of the series. He's just, I always joke that I want to be Tom Waltz when I grow up because he's such a fantastic guy that grew up as a fan of the Turtles, and now he's writing, we just finished, we had a mind melt before we came here yesterday. We do these, twice a month kind of thing, and we're, working up through issue 70. And the ideas are still as alive and percolating in directions to take the Turtles is fantastic. So Tom and we have an editor, the main series editor is a guy named Bobby Curnow, who's just as creative as Tom and myself, and we really get in there, and it's like it's just so fun. It doesn't it's work, but it doesn't feel like work because it's like, hey, we could go here, hey, we could do this, or bringing up a new character or taking dusting off an old character from some of the many Turtle universes, the cartoon show or the movies. We sort of bring them back into the comic series, which the IDW series to me is the universe all within itself, mini Turtle universe within the other Turtle universes. So yeah, it's fantastic. I really love the series, and fans seem to really resonate with it. So it's great.
All right. Well, as we're wrapping this up, if people wanted to, I guess somehow connect with you online or find out more about you online, where could they go?
Kevin Eastman, excuse me. KevinEastmanStudios.com is our own personal website, which not only gives we have a fan section where you can go behind the scenes and see stuff that only fans and members of the site can see, but that's a small part. But the rest of the site is dedicated to where we're going to be, what we're doing, latest bits and pieces we put up on social media of different things that's going on in the whole Turtle universe, and you can buy cool stuff that you can't find out there, right at KevinEastmanStudios.com.
All right, and final question. What would you like to say to your fans throughout all these years?
Man, it's like because of you guys, my fans, I have the greatest job in the entire planet, the entire universe. It really is an interesting point that, I love what I do, and I'm lucky enough that I have fans that follow what I do. And without you guys, I couldn't have this job. I couldn't be as creative and have as much fun as I'm having. So I really thank you. You guys are awesome.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for this interview.
That was a pleasure.
Well, folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene with Kevin Eastman. Still, once again, in this swanky hotel.
Awesome.
Take it easy.
Ciao. Cowabunga.